Hey, good morning. How y'all doing? It is Well Red Beard. It's a damn fine day to talk about a book. And today we're here for a book review, and that book is White Horse by Erika T. Wurth. I'm a sucker for Book of the Month Club titles when I see them. I don't know why, because I haven't read a lot of them. But I did see this book making the rounds of like the horror community. I mean, I wasn't 100% sure that it was horror, but I had seen it, and so I ran across the book. I picked it up. It sat on the shelf for a long time, and towards the end of March, I had kind of, I guess, accomplished my reading goals for the month. Whatever. I had read the stuff I wanted to read, and for whatever reason, I went to the shelf and I wanted to grab something that I hadn't planned on reading, right? And so I picked this one up and I got into it, and yeah, I read it. Now look, I didn't love this book. I gave it a 3-star rating, but it was a low 3-star rating. There were times when I was reading this book that I thought about 2 stars. There were times when I thought this is going to be a 1-star read for me. I didn't like the main character, and it didn't feel like that was on purpose. Like, you know how like sometimes main characters, like, you're supposed to not like them, and that's on purpose. I mean, I thought I might come up with a more creative way to say that the second time around, and I didn't. But I did not like this character, and it didn't feel like it was on purpose. So the author, is giving this character these qualities, but is very repetitive and very heavy-handed when driving that point home. And it's not just one thing, but it's that she's it's the way she dresses, it's the types of books she reads, um it's the amount of beers she drinks. But the one that really drove me crazy was the fact that she's a metalhead. She listens to heavy metal, and I don't listen to heavy metal, but I mean, I did a little bit back in the day. But it just over and over again about Megadeth and Dave Mustaine. And it's not a funny, quirky um way of doing it like Brett Easton Ellis giving us like 4 pages of everything that Huey Lewis has ever done in American Psycho. It was just like, oh hey, in case you've forgotten, she's a metalhead. Yeah, and I'm telling you, it just for whatever reason, again, I come here to say the way I felt when I read it, and it just annoyed the absolute shit out of me. So that was probably harsh. That was probably anyway. You get my point. So there were parts that I didn't love. I mean, I really, really didn't love. So I'm gonna read the synopsis, and then I'm gonna come back and tell you about a couple things that I liked. So here we go. Synopsis. Let's see what we got here. Here we go. Heavy metal, ripped jeans, Stephen King novels, and the occasional beer at the White Horse have defined urban Indian Carrie James' life so far. But when her cousin Debbie finds an old family bracelet that once belonged to Carrie's mother, and it inadvertently, that's a tough word, inadvertently calls up both her mother's ghost and a monstrous entity. And Carrie's willful ignorance about her past is no longer sustainable. Haunted by visions of her mother and hunted by this mysterious creature, Carrie must find out what happened to her mother all those years ago. Her father, permanently disabled from a car crash, can't help her. Her auntie Squeaker seems to know something but isn't eager to give it all up at once. Debbie wants to help, but her controlling husband keeps getting in the way. Carrie's journey toward a truth long denied by both her family and law enforcement forces her to confront her dysfunctional relationships. Thoughts about a friend she lost in childhood and her desire for the one thing she's always wanted but could never have. And that is it. Could never have. So, did that sound busy? Did that synopsis sound shit, sound a bit busy. Um, because I'll be honest with you, there are elements in that synopsis that wouldn't even have crossed my mind to really mention in this book review. Our main character is a bartender. She's mid 30s, 35, 36 years old. What we know is her mother disappeared when she was 2 days old. Just disappeared. Her father, torn up from his wife's disappearance, gets drunk and wrecks a car and is permanently disabled. And so she's really kind of alone. She's never had a relationship with really any of her family other than her cousin Debbie. Hold on. So Debbie finds this bracelet. It used to be her mother's, and when she gives this bracelet to her, it's like it's a door. It opens a doorway. It's like a key because she immediately, when touching this bracelet, immediately starts almost warging into her mother and seeing things that have happened around her. But her mother's ghost is also shown up. Shows up in odd places. Least expected, covered in blood and screaming. Right, and then there's this entity, this monster that's also part of the story. Yeah, in saying all that sounds pretty good. Also, she had a friend that died when they were young. They were, I mean, just absolutely, um, what's the word I'm looking for? On the crazy train of alcohol and drugs. Carrie made it out, and her friend did not. Um, and she's Native American, right? Like it said that. It said she's urban Indian, which she's part Chickasaw, part Apache, if my memory isn't failing me. But she keeps saying she's urban, almost, and I may be assuming incorrectly here, but almost as if urban Native American, as we have urbanized, have lost their ancestry. So maybe they know they're. I mean, I guess it's the idea of part Cherokee, right? Well, I mean, people have kind of lost, I guess, the actual knowledge of what tribes their ancestry comes from. It felt that way anyway. So that's the gist. She's on this quest to find out what happened to her mom, why she's being haunted, and what this fucking monster is, right? And so, yeah. But it takes like forever for us to really kind of start progressing down the road of figuring anything out. I feel her we talked about Debbie's husband, and again, as a man, reading a book by a woman with a woman lead, I'm trying to be really, really hesitant, maybe careful on what I say. What did it say about Debbie's husband? She has a controlling husband. It keeps getting in the way. Um, okay. Yeah. I mean, he's, I guess, controlling, but every time that started happening, I was like, yo, Carrie, you're crossing a line here, right? I mean, they're married, they have two children. Carrie is unattached to anyone, and Debbie's trying to help her, right? But they're going off on these like side quests, and maybe the husband's getting controlling, upset about that. Yeah, it's either her or us, your family. Um, I don't want to go so far as this because there were we did allude to the fact that maybe he drank too much. I don't think we ever said that he laid a hand on her, but anyway, Carrie kept seeming to overstep in those situations. She kept seeming to, um, you know, she wanted her best friend around her so much that she was willing to break up their marriage. It felt like that. So there's another aspect of Carrie that, and maybe again, like I said, I was hesitant, but I said it anyway. So whatever. Um, so yeah, so that she reads Stephen King novels. It says that some of that Stephen King stuff also felt, especially in relationship to The Shining, also felt heavy-handed. We get it, and I shouldn't like the fact that in the third act of this book, she goes to the Stanley Hotel, but I did because I can't help it because I love the Overlook Hotel. It's one of my favorite fiction settings of all time. So the fact that she went to the Stanley Hotel and did some stuff and that kind of progressed the story a little bit. I didn't want to really like those parts, but I did. And so the I guess what I'm saying is the probably the first 2/3 of the book I was firmly 2 stars. The last third of the book brought it up some. Not a lot. Like I said, I was low, 3 stars. But yeah, that's the gist. I mean, it's a horror novel, Native American story, um, indigenous author, I do believe. Um, so it's got a lot of stuff going for it. I just, didn't love um, how long the build up took. I mean, and part of that is this part I will say probably is on purpose because, like I said, she knows nothing. Her mom disappeared when she was 2 days old, and she really doesn't have a lot of people to go to for information on what might have happened. I mean, for a while we think it's an FBI deal because her mom was involved in like Native American protests. For a while we think maybe it's like the AIC. I want to say it was the AIC, like the American Indian Council, that may have gotten involved. Maybe she was a little bit too much, protested a bit too hard. Anyway, we go down all these roads, and maybe again because the character didn't have anybody to help him out. Really, maybe that was all necessary. But the first 2/3 drug a bit for me, and again, like I said, didn't love the character and the heavy-handedness on certain on character traits, and but the last third kind of did bring it home a little bit for me. So this is Erika T. Wurth, White Horse. I gave it a low 3 stars. This has been Well Red Beard. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're enjoying all your books as much as I am. If not, you're reading the wrong damn books.